All right, so let's check this video out and see what they're saying, because this is his Descendant review. I'm actually interested because I've played the alpha and beta of this for a little, pretty much all of them except for the last one that got released because I was moving. Even though I did have access to it, I couldn't play it because I had no internet. But let's see what he has to say.
What's up, gamers? Dreamcast Guy here, and this is Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. Today we're discussing the first Descendant. This is a new looter shooter that just dropped, and currently it is the biggest game on Steam, but the early impressions are very mixed. Some people are calling it pay to win, completely busted, or the best game ever, depending on who you ask. So let's break down the positives and the negatives and what I think about it thus far after playing about 6.5 hours of it. Now, first and foremost, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, of course, since this game is completely free to play, I'm sure that stuff is going to change. I think this is a good start. I can't completely hate it because I paid $0 for it, but this is certainly the kind of game that focuses on the grind. If you've ever played something like Destiny or Warframe, these are the kind of games that try to get you to keep logging in, to keep leveling up.
I mean, that's literally their purpose. It is a multiplayer game and it is crossplay. I don't know if it's cross-save. I think it might be if you've got a Nexon account serve, but it is definitely crossplay. You can play with anyone you want, regardless of the platform you're on.
There are different styles of mission, there is different environments and 9 different territories to explore, but a lot of this just comes down to constantly trying to chase that next big upgrade.
I mean, that's literally what a looter shooter is. And Susano, to answer your question, the world itself is, well, during the betas and the alphas was quite barren. When you go to the destinations that you go to, you activate missions and they actually populate the area with the enemies. So it is mission based rather than think Destiny with patrol. It's not that sort of thing. There are a few enemies here and there, but it is essentially you go to a node, you activate it, you do the mission, and you move on.
So, in the world of the first Descendants, there has been a 100-year-long war between these otherworldly creatures, the Vulgus and the Colossi. They're essentially interdimensional invaders that have come to Earth and started to completely wipe out everything. So, we're trying to fight back and looking for some sort of secret weapon to finally push these people off of our plane of existence. Now, I'll be honest, the story in this is incredibly paper thin because it's kind of just an excuse to keep shooting stuff and to fight some rather big bosses. So this is an always online experience. It's the kind of game where there are hubs, there's social areas, but this actually brings me to the part of this that I enjoyed the most by far. There are 3 separate classes you can play as: a support, a tank, or sort of the damage dealer. I decided to be the damage dealer whose speciality is grenades. And when you drop into this, because it is a living, always online ecosystem, you keep just running into other players. The actual mission objectives we do are usually pretty simplistic: either defend a point, kill a boss, or sometimes just trying to wipe out a particular amount of an enemy.
It does get more interesting and more complicated as you play through the game and get to the middle of the game and the latter part of the game. So that statement on its own is telling me that he didn't really even get to the middle of the game. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what level he got to ultimately, because I don't even think he'd have hit level 20, which takes, I think, in my opinion, more than the 6 hours.
Sometimes you're planting a bomb, sometimes you're defusing a bomb. It's not really that deep. But what's cool about this is that sometimes these missions can be tough, and it's cool to have other people randomly back you up. Since the first Descendant is already blowing up on Steam and Xbox and PlayStation 5 and everywhere that it is, it seems like a lot of people are definitely giving it a test, and it does have full crossplay. It's kind of cool to see such a living world instantly. Like, I think it's kind of cool that when I'm failing in a mission, sometimes I'm getting completely overwhelmed, other people will just show up and help me kill stuff and actually win. I kind of like those games that make it feel like it really does have this vibe that we're actually trying to defend these points. It really feels like a living world, even if it is a bit cringy and cheesy at times. Now, let's talk microtransactions before
Okay,
anything else.
let's see
Before we
what it
start
is.
to dive into all the leveling systems and stuff like that, yes, I do believe this game can be counted as pay to win. In the cash shop, you can purchase XP upgrades and all sorts of crafting materials and stuff. So, since this game is something that does have a complete free to play model, you could just technically swipe your credit card and spend 20 or 60 bucks to stuff to get actually good looking skins, better costumes, and of course,
I mean, the skins and stuff is not pay to win, but the upgrades, fair. You know, the XP boosts, but you don't need them. You don't need them.
a big boost to your play experience. Now, in my 6.5 hours, I did not spend a penny on this, but I can definitely see that this is the kind of game that, because it is about that grind, the entire fun loop gets sped up if you're willing to play. And that is because while you're playing this, everything is based on power scaling. Some enemies have extra shield or defense or offense, and so there is a lot of different styles of equipment. There is just trinkets you can equip to get more health or more shield. There's weapons that all can be leveled up in crazy amounts of ways. So, since this is just so incredibly grindy, there are like 10 separate ways that you are constantly progressing your character. Your individual guns actually have
Yeah.
an XP bar.
Yeah.
Mastery levels, which are like your passive stat bonuses, those can
Yeah.
level up. There are individual mods that you can craft and customize and level up. So each individual skill on your character can also just get boosted, and even just raw stats. There's just straight up character levels beyond anything else, which are general power. So, what this essentially means
It's basically Warframe. If you've played Warframe, you'll know exactly what this is. I think Warframe goes a little more in depth because I've played Warframe, and based on my play of this up to level 20. Uh, so these that you can see here under the external components, you pick those up and essentially you just equip the best one you've found. That's it, really. They have base stats on them and upgraded stats, but you just equip the highest one and off you go. There's no real magic to this. It's essentially like armor. That's what your essentially armor sets are, because there's no specific armor that you get. The skin that you get is just a skin.
is that while you're playing this game, if you did choose to buy the microtransactions, I think you're going to have a lot more fun, which does kind of suck. Already, just even in my 6.5 hours, progressing through the first two of the 9 areas and beating some bosses and stuff, I
So he didn't even finish the story, and he's making a review. Like, how can you actually write? You know, how can you make a review for a game you haven't even finished yet? You've done 2 of the 9 areas, so you're basically judging a game based on the intro missions.
definitely felt like if I was higher level and had more crafting materials, I would be shooting stuff a lot faster and definitely having more fun. So, going against the Vulgust and the Colossi, these are like two very different styles of aliens. The Colossi are the mega boss encounters where you get to drop into like a little instant zone with other
This is the
players
first
and you have to
Descendant.
try and defeat them. Now, a lot of times they have different weak points. You can scan them to see the parts of their shield that can be popped off, or parts of their body where they're the most susceptible to critical hits. Now, I'll be honest, I think this stuff is incredibly flashy and very, very cool. The entire combat in this, everything feels very tight. The aiming, the shooting, the special abilities feel great. And when you take these guys down, not only do you get a loot pinata, do you get tons and tons of gear for killing these bosses, but I just think they look great. They're just fun to actually kill, which is definitely the most important part.
Now, one other thing that he wouldn't have gained access to at that early stage of the game is augmented skills, which actually changed, you know, the dynamic of your gameplay. Like, for example, the tank class basically puts down a shield, right? That you can shoot through, but the enemies can't shoot you. If you get that augmented, you can actually roam around with it freely. And, though it's removing you from being able to shoot with two hands, you can actually become a mobile shield for your team. And all the other different classes have that augmented skill ability. I don't know how many augmented ways that you can change your skills, but that is something that's going to be huge for the rest of the game. And I cannot fathom that he even actually got to that point to be able to make an informed decision on the skills, the talents, and everything else. It just doesn't make sense. The first two areas are literally just the groundwork for the story. Of course, it's going to be paper thin. The beta on its own gave you access to 4 areas with 3 of the stories, right? So you could play the story for the first 3 areas, and it only got interesting, I think, by the time you got to the end of the 3rd area, or like halfway through the 3rd area, it got interesting. Also, with the different missions during the beta and the alpha. I haven't played this game yet. I'm going to be playing it tomorrow over at Twitch. So as long as I'm not passing out from being tired. But you can repeat missions until they actually drop the fragments you need to make the armor suits. So unless they've changed that, I'll find out tomorrow. That's how you actually farm the gear. So I genuinely don't know what this review is. It seems just another, I don't like this game because I don't want to invest time in it.
Now, thus far, the Vulgus have been more of the minion types. They're random units that are.
And I will add, if you're watching this in the future, because it's probably going to be in the future when I release this because of him making this video today, so I'm going to release it probably in a few days. I'm not going to be streaming on that Wednesday. I might be streaming the game, but I don't know.
Also sort of humanoids that are usually trained to shoot back or punch you in the face or cut you up with a sword. While exploring the map, there are the typical objectives I mentioned, which are like trying to take over bases or defend a status point or try and hacking a panel and stuff like that. And when you're doing that is when you're encountering a lot of the Vulgus, but there are special elite Vulgus that will also show up that sometimes you have to deal with. So each of the characters that we can play have different special abilities. Now, this guy, the damage dealer dude, his thing is grenades. I've got like gravity grenades that can pull in a bunch of people to weaken them. I can just throw normal explosive grenades, or I can also do this thing where my ultimate ability is this grenade launcher that sort of shoots tiny suns. And let me tell you, that thing really packs a punch. But I think what I do enjoy about this is that it is cool that there is just so many cooldowns, so much ammunition. You can equip 3 guns at a time, and maybe later on I'll be able to swap out my special abilities. I mean, I don't know. I've only played about 6 hours of it.
And that's the problem. You don't know. How are you making a review? At least make it an impression. This is not a review. Like, this is the base version of the character. You can get an ultimate version of this character, which has souped up skills, souped up abilities, and the cards that you can put on that you saw at the start of the video. It actually opens up a lot more points for you to be able to invest in. Think Warframe when you kind of reset and it opens up more points and kind of halves the points on the other thing. You're kind of halfway there if you think of it that way. And so when you like upgrade to the next tier of your character, it actually makes a big difference to not only the way you play, but to the overall experience. And None of that is shown here at all, or even spoken about. This looks like a
But
pointless review.
thus far, I've really enjoyed actually customizing my different styles of weapon, going from sniper rifles to a beam cannon, or just different styles of hand cannon, or just big heavy machine guns. I think that this does have a good amount of impact to it. Like, for a free to play game, at this point, I can say that it's interesting. Like, if you're looking for a game that's going to occupy tons and tons of time, I think some people, this is going to be their main go to grind. I guess the biggest detriment is that I think the world itself does feel kind of flat. I think the color palette is incredibly basic. I wish that we had some sort of general outfit that didn't look terrible.
My dude has only seen 2 areas, and is saying that, and the fact that you can actually get different versions of him. You can unlock different skins that you can. I think some of them you can actually unlock in game as well, or you can buy. But you can unlock upgraded versions of him, which look drastically different. And he's going to turn around and say that I wish you could have that. I wish when it's in the goddamn game. Don't buffer.
The fact that you have to spend microtransactions to look cool at all, like, I know that's the point, but it sucks that so much of this game is about spending money. Every costume, every cosmetic, every part of the battle pass, because yes, this has a microtransaction store and separately a battle pass. Like, games like this are so based around the monetization, and it's
It's
just
free to play. What did
accidentally
you
fun in the
expect?
process.
They're going to monetize the cosmetics. What did you want them to do? Monetize weapons?
I have enjoyed it, but it definitely also doesn't run very good. So, this gameplay is on the PlayStation 5. I've had technical pop ins, I've had frame rate dips everywhere, and I've heard the frame rate is incredibly bad on PC and also on Xbox. This game had like a 9-month long beta. I'm not sure how the heck you have not managed to optimize.
I can tell you on PC it runs flawless. I was watching Asda crossplay it today. I was watching a few others playing it on PC today. I can also tell you from experience that this game runs well on Xbox. It ran really well on the Series X, not the S. On the X, it ran really, really well during the betas. On the PS5, it did not run well. So the fact that he wanted to throw in PC and Xbox into this, he's just a liar.
This better after so many years of work, but I will say, first impressions, it's a fun game if you're bored and if you're broke. I only played this by myself, but even in just this random day of playing it, grinding it, and leveling up, I actually had more fun than I thought. It's cool to delve into the dungeons, which are like sort of based on the story itself, but you get to go through like little tiny crypts and tombs and underground mining excavation stuffs with other random players, using your grapple hook to try and traverse areas and double jumping across pits and stuff like that. The first Descendant is the kind of free to play game that, from the surface, it does seem pretty decent. Maybe it sucks once you get 10 hours into it, but you know what? I think I had an alright time with it. Will I keep playing? I don't know. I'll probably play this for like a week just for funsies until something actually good comes out. Because
He's looking forward to Concord, chat. Concord!
to me, free to play always has that big, just ominous cloud of, okay, are they going to break it? Are they going to invent new crafting systems later that completely invalidate my character? But these are just
You mean like Destiny, right? That's a PlayStation owned company now. Or Helldivers.
been some off the cuff thoughts because it is a game that I've been curious about. It impressed me enough to warrant the install. But what do you guys think about the first Descendant?
I think this review was absolutely trash. I think it was pointless. I think this review doesn't is a disservice to the game, to the franchise, well, not franchise, but to the actual game. I don't think it's given it a fair chance. And honestly, I genuinely believe that the only reason he put this out there is so he can be first. He's admitted that he's only covered 2 of the 9 maps. He has not even really ventured into the story and is, talking shit about the story. It's a free to play game. They have to monetize it somehow. I think everyone can at least agree on that part. Costumes and cosmetics are going to be monetized. That's fair. I think the other $100 skin is a bit much, but someone said it's $50, but even that's much. But we've already found out that you can actually unlock it in the game if you grind for it. So that's fine. You don't have to spend a dime. This game, I've already seen the roadmap from the creators channel, which I can't show here, but it's pretty big. We've got new characters coming already that they're working on with new raid bosses. And there are raid bosses in this that you can go and actually challenge yourself at various difficulty levels as it goes along. This review told you nothing. Like, if anyone jumped into this, they would get a completely bad representation. And to make things worse, just because the PS5 version runs like shit, as he showed there, the PC version and the Xbox version don't. He tried to clump them in together just so he can show Xbox bad, PC bad, PlayStation bad. It's clearly a game issue and not a console issue. I think this is absolutely bonkers. This guy is mental. That's all I'm going to say. Mental. And this is a really bad review. Really, I think this is one of the worst reviews I've ever seen.